Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to cover the Monday, November 5th NHL Daily Fantasy Slate. DJ, how was your weekend? What you up to? Anything fun?
Yeah, I got to watch the Sabres score 9 goals live in person, which seems like a joke, like a myth. Like it can't possibly be true. You know what I mean? There's no way that the Sabres would be able to put up 3 field goals, but they did. Um, it was pretty cool to watch, and now they're back to not scoring goals again against the Rangers. So everything's back to normal now.
Wait, you
I went
mean
out.
the Buffalo Bills scoring 9 points?
Yep. The teams from Buffalo love scoring nine in any capacity. Um, Nathan Peterman is still a quarterback in the NFL that starts games. So anything's possible if you're out there right now and you think like, I don't think I can do anything. If you play daily fantasy football and Nathan Peterman is the quarterback and you don't start the opposing defense, like what are you doing? Even though honestly, like that pick six was not his fault, but still,
Yeah, no, that I
it,
mean, it,
it has to happen to him.
yeah, I mean it's not a football game that Nathan Peterman plays in without a pick six to document it. So
Yes. Okay. So other than that, the Browns lost. That's all the news I have from that. Uh, other guest notes. I'm only going to be on this podcast this week. I'm going to be in Wilmington, Delaware, the city that never sleeps, the city of dreams, city of angels, city of brotherly love. So I can't wait. Wilmington, Delaware. Heads up, everyone.
yeah, so be prepared for some more
Is
solo
Doug going to come
pods.
on, you think?
Maybe I'll have to see if I can get him out of retirement. He's
Yeah.
retired to his nice cozy island in the Bahamas or something for his just over here being a Call of Duty genius or something. I don't know what he's up to.
I thought he was dead, actually. I thought he was
Yeah,
just a computer.
yeah. We actually locked him in the basement till the sim's ready to go. So
Yeah.
people have been
Sounds
asking for
good.
updates on that. We're working on it. It's still not ready to go. So, like if you click on it today, it says Steven Stamkos will be 109% owned. Can't say that came to fruition. It came
Is it
close,
really?
but yeah. So the sim just isn't usable at the present time. Kind of, I guess, good, interesting timing is the Fantasy Labs layoffs. I'm not sure if we've been on since, yeah, we haven't been on since Friday. So, as you know, I did some stuff with Fantasy Labs on weekends and, last year a little bit like during the week too. They let go their entire hockey staff. So the Action Network has no hockey like at all, apparently. So obviously, if you watch for Saturdays, didn't see me, apologies, but yeah, it's done over there. And yeah, so what our sim takes those lines that they have like updated. So without those being updated, we'll have to figure out how to get the lines from a different source. So just a, I guess, kind of convenient timing because we're redoing the sim anyways. But yeah, so just a little update there. But yeah,
Roto
thanks to
Grinders followed us on Instagram. That's another update. We have an Instagram now. So if you
huh,
use Instagram, if you don't use Instagram, then I don't know, just get it just to follow our Morning State podcast account. Um, so yeah, I've only put up 2 things. I'm gonna put up like all the podcasts like that we do, so you can like and links from Apple and Stitcher. Although like when you put the link in the post, you have to like copy the link. You can't like hyperlink it. I've not figured that out. And I tried to like look through other places that I thought I've done it before. I don't think they show up. So it's gonna be wow. You just followed it while I was talking about it, Matt. Unbelievable. You haven't followed it yet.
I have
So
not.
yeah,
I actually
Roto
forgot it
Grinders,
existed.
Roto Grinders followed us, and therefore I'm convinced that they're our friends now. So yeah. Um. Other than that, yeah, follow our Instagram at Morningscape Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Morningscape Pod. Follow the pod at Morningscape Pod. Anything else about the pod? Let's actually
Uh,
do the pod.
yeah. Well, let's do that. Let's do the pod. Um, all right. So we have a 5 game slate on Monday, which is why we are throwing together this podcast. At 7 o'clock, we have Dallas at Boston, Montreal at the Islanders, New Jersey at Pittsburgh, Edmonton at Washington, and then at 9 o'clock, late hammer, we have Philly at Arizona. So a nice, tidy little 5-game slate. But we have a lot of studs on this slate. I mean, just naming the guys above, I don't know, 6.8 or so, 6.7, let's call it. We have McDavid, Malkin, Bergeron, Sagan, Kuznetsov, Crosby. At the wing, we have Ovechkin, Pastrnak, Kessel, Hall, Palmieri, Anders Lee, 6.7. And then at defense, we have Letang, Carlson, Klingberg, so some pretty studly guys here. Not to mention some of the guys in the mid tiers that are it's interesting that with 10 teams on the slate, we have this much star power, but that might make it all the more necessary to find some values. So, yeah, any thoughts on first glance, or should we just dive into it?
Are we going game by game, or do you just want to do the normal tiers? And
I think the tiers is a better, like, more cohesive format. Personally,
okay.
We've gotten good feedback on it too. So.
Okay, so yeah, looking at this slate overall, we're not really going to have a ton of news to cover because most teams don't really do much on Sundays unless they're playing. So we went through some of the teams on Twitter, didn't really see much. So I'm expecting a lot of morning skates tomorrow, probably most of these teams. Every single team besides Arizona played Saturday. So they got kind of like a day of rest before a Monday tilt. So other than Arizona, who's on 2 days of rest, kind of pretty much an even playing field. There's no teams on back-to-back, correct? Double checking on that?
Yes, yep.
Yes, no teams on a back-to-back. So interesting. It's going to be an interesting slate in that respect. But there's really no, trying to use that to your advantage. So
yeah, and I also, to piggyback off what you're saying, I don't really expect there to be much by way of changes. So, like Radulov is confirmed out for the Stars. Like, I don't really expect much line changes out of any of these teams really. Like Edmonton, that seems to have been settled with Kajula having a good few games. I mean, pretty much all these teams I would consider to be relatively set in stone, just given the way they're constructed or because they're playing really well. So obviously that could change, but there's not really any like contingent news that I think we're waiting on. So should be a nice little slate to dive into.
Yeah, I would say that it's kind of like the pricing's interesting. They got like the 3.7K guys at center, and then 5 guys in the 6K range, and then it really drops off. So definitely going to be kind of like that. All the positions, I feel like, where if you don't take one of the top tier guys, the prices really do drop off. So why don't we start at center? I think obviously McDavid's a great play every single night. I don't think this night's any different at Washington. Like he's pretty much going to be, cash viable every night. And I think there's enough savings on this slate where you can fit him in. I'd probably look to him first at center. What say you, the top of centers?
Yeah, I mean, McDavid certainly pretty awesome. I'm not really afraid of like a matchup with Orlov Niskanen. Uh, yeah, I mean, McDavid just seems pretty fairly priced. I honestly really like him and Ovi from this game just because there's not really that much of a difference between the elite producers and, the next tier of guy. So, I think they're pretty easily, jammable. Interestingly, looking at the first, some 10 to 13 games for these teams on the slate on a DraftKings point per minute basis, Evgeny Malkin has the highest like production per minute for fantasy purposes. So I found that kind of interesting just because I don't think I was really expecting to, land on Malkin at all, but it does go to show just how productive he's been this season. So after a down game for Pittsburgh in general against Toronto, could be a nice spot to jump back on Pittsburgh against the Devils, who have kind of fallen back to earth, and get some nice ownership savings there. So for me, I think it's McDavid and then Malkin, Crosby. I'm not really that interested in the Sagan Bergeron matchup. Bergeron should have the edge there, but Sagan is obviously just a dynamic talent. So I'm
revenge
just
narrative in Boston.
that is true.
Not just gonna dive in on a narrative and just like put all your money on it because I think that's how you're supposed to play this stuff.
Well, maybe the narrative is that Sagan, being the party boy in Boston, is out there partying again. So, what say you to that?
Well, he's listening, so like I don't want him to offend him, but Tyler, it's okay. Like have a couple of drinks on me. You know about it. I think we've covered the top range pretty well. Basically, it's McDavid for me. I like Crosby. I think Crosby's interesting because I think that his line has changed since we last talked. He was with
Yeah.
Simone
Well, yeah,
and
it
Simple.
was. Realistically, that could change.
Yeah.
At the end of last game, they were actually running Crosby out with Simone and Patrick Hornqvist.
Yeah, I know. So
So
that
if
yeah,
that
we'll know
if
that before
that's
the game tomorrow. So
we will.
I'm just saying, like, no matter what, like his wingers are gonna be pretty cheap.
Yes.
Simone is down to what 4.6? Yeah, 4.6 on DraftKings. I might check his fan, and then 5.3 for Hornqvist. So that's like that whole line stack is interesting in that respect. At the same time, we're talking about Sidney Crosby. You get only Hornqvist on the power play with him. So, but I like Simone a lot. He had 17 minutes of ice time, power play too. Definitely don't hate him as a play tomorrow. He definitely can shoot the puck. When he's done with Crosby before, he's been excellent. Obviously, most players are. So I like that stack.
Yeah, I mean
Okay,
it's
why don't we
tough to
get
be
to
bad
the
with
guys?
Crosby. So just be mindful of the fact that his line mates are a little bit in flux. But yeah, pretty much status quo otherwise for Pittsburgh, despite the 5-0 loss. So going down the list a little bit, we kind of see this mid tier really, you know, jump from Backstrom pretty quickly down to like the mid fives. Max Domi's up here. Apparently he's just a master of like one-on-one walking into the zone and taking like basically NHL 19 wristers, like NHL 18, whatever, like skating across the top of the slot, shooting high glove. I want to say at least like 5 goals of his last like 6 or 7 have been exactly of that variety. Just having seen some of the highlights, like it is kind of impressive, but it does concern me because I don't really think Domi is like all that great of a shooter. Like I'm sure he's like a fine, he has a fine shot, but I don't think he's going to beat goaltenders like that, you know,
Did you
readily.
see him? Did you see the video of him like trying to flirt with the girl while he was in the penalty box?
No, I did not.
Like the thing is, like I can't confirm that he definitely was doing that, but he was definitely trying to get her attention. So like everyone's like, "Holy crap!" He was definitely trying to like put some game on. And you know what? Good for him. You know what? If you take a penalty, why waste time? Like why not use it to your advantage? So I respect that out of him. So he's a must play tomorrow for me. Not kidding. But on FanDuel, actually it goes McDavid, Crosby, and Malkin on FanDuel. Crosby being just 200 less than McDavid, I think that's kind of a
Huh.
no-brainer to get to McDavid over there.
Yeah.
Um,
Or even
that just
Malkin.
seems, yeah, right. Like Malkin's what 500 cheaper than
Yeah.
McDavid, and then Simone is 4.4. So Simone's a very good value over there on
Yeah.
that site.
That's
So yeah,
on
do you think a
that
lot of
site.
people on FanDuel? Yeah. Do you think a
Yeah.
lot of people will be taking Keyshier tomorrow? I mean, his ice time continues to go up. He still plays with a guy named Taylor Hall. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna get to that because in this mid tier, he sure really stands out to me. Like he's just a good player all around. I mean, it's not that surprising given he went first overall, just last year, but like he's a pretty good player. So playing with Paul, I think that that's a great play given the price, given that the fact that his role really hasn't changed much. Um, he could be moved off of a power play, I suppose, just because of the fact that they lost 3-0. They got shut out by the Islanders, which is never a good thing. But I really find that hard to believe. Like, I don't think they're so quick to react. And, you know, 5.1, I think he's a great play there, just given the guys around him that I'm not really all that enthused by. Um, However, there's a guy like maybe Leon Draisaitl, Sean Couturier, Derek Stepan. Any of those guys interest you? I think we can agree that Brock Nelson is not a 5,400 player, but correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
No, you are fine. I mean, honestly, I don't mind this Arizona side at all. They definitely in their last game kind of spread the wealth of minutes. As they beat Carolina in overtime 4-3. They took a ton of penalties, like a lot. So if you look at the minutes, like Grabner and Richardson had 17 and 16 respectively, and that was very much driven by their penalty kill time, as they were the top penalty kill unit. I mean, I don't have the exact number in front of me about how many penalty minutes they had, but it looks like a lot. So I think it'll get pretty much back to normal. Galchenyuk with Keller and Panic. I think that's a pretty decent line. I don't hate it. Galchenyuk's definitely cheap enough. What do you think of him as kind of like a prototype of his DFS? Because I mean, he's kind of gone back and forth between there's a 5 shot on goal game in there against Tampa, then he had 0 against Carolina. So what do you think his profile is kind of as a center in DFS?
I mean, I think he's kind of, right around this price range in terms of like just his overall skill set for like daily fantasy. I think that 4.8 is like a fair price for him. Like I'm just looking at his like basically last year plus this year's numbers, and I can't spell his name right.
Galchenyuk,
Yeah, I
Galchen.
trust me, I got it. But yeah,
I
so
am
I mean,
the head speller here in this podcast, so just be careful.
yeah, just Hall. Where's Hall Chenyuk? I'm like Taylor Hall. That's not right. But yeah, so like he's a pretty good shot producer. Like I think that if they were to really like say, hey, you're gonna be playing 20 minutes every night, like almost a Derek Stepan role, that he would be like right up there among the top values, sort of like a Heishier. Um, but I think he's just a little bit below Heishier in particular in terms of just his overall appeal. Um, but he does kind of possess like I think he's a fine one-off play, kind of. You mentioned Keller. Keller's a pretty good player too, but his price has gotten a little bit up there, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I fell back down to 5.5. So I may need to look a little bit more into that play specifically, that second line for Arizona. But for right now, given their minutes not being extraordinarily high as of late, Keller's only averaging 18 minutes over the past X amount of games, with really that's all dependent on a few spike games early on lately, or later on, like earlier in the season. So I probably
Yeah,
just said a lot there, but Arizona's not really all that interesting to me personally.
that's fair. I'm okay with that. I kind of like Galchenyuk, but I still trying to figure him out. As are you. We need to see more games of what he's doing in Arizona before I really put a strong stamp of approval. And just below Galchenyuk is Matthew Barzal. I still can't believe how cheap he's gotten, but at the same time, he's really not producing. Relative. He has 12 points in 13 games, only one of them being a goal. Just not really what I think people expected after his rookie campaign. It was unreal. Maybe it could be a time to jump on him against Montreal. I don't hate that play, but other than that, I think we get down to really dumpster diving.
Yeah, it's tough because the Islanders really have been like one of the biggest surprises on the season. I think you said they're what 8-4-1, or actually, I think Bonnie said that. I think my girlfriend's like, wait, the Islanders are good this year. Like, I guess she pays attention to some of it. I guess because she was just as surprised as I was. But yeah, I mean, Barzell's not really been the engine driving this team, which I guess that's a positive in one sense, but also in another sense, it's just kind of like, like where has it all been coming from? And honestly, the answer is everywhere. Like they've just been sky high shooting percentage. So I think as a team that'll come down. And Barzell being not a shooter himself, I don't really think that even if he does experience a little bit of regression points wise, his low shot floor is almost always going to keep me off of him, except for on the smallest of slates. And so I think with guys that we've talked about, like Galchenyuk, Hischier, there's a couple guys cheaper that I'm interested in. I don't really see myself playing Barzell now or really in the near future at all.
That's fair.
Um,
Okay. So anyone else you want to get to? There's a guy
yeah,
like Kotkaniemi interest
yeah,
you or
Kotkaniemi,
other than that?
he's had a good couple games recently. I was actually looking at him before the Washington game because I was just kind of like, oh well, he's playing a decent amount of minutes. Like, what's he been like? And I went on to Hockey Viz, and I looked at his first. I think it was 11 games at the time in the NHL, and he was right around league average in terms of like on ice shot impacts, like 4. In terms of against, like his threat was like 30% better than the league average. Like it was insanely good, like defensively. Um, So while the minutes still aren't really there, and obviously the offensive production hasn't quite come for him, outside of that 2-goal performance against Washington, there is, I think, a decent case to be made that he's kind of one of those guys that you could write up the pricing charts rather than jumping on guys who perform and then kind of fall back over time. Like, I don't know, Brad Richardson at 4.4. Just to throw names out there. Kotkaniemi is definitely a guy that I have some interest in, but really only if you can't get up to Nolan Patrick. At 4.1, I think he's the clear top cheap play here. Still on the first power play for the Flyers, has goals in 2 of his last 3 games, 5 points over that time frame. I think he's in a good trending position to kind of max out as like a 5 to 5.5K player on that first power play unit for Philly. So I like getting him in this matchup while he's this cheap.
All right, well, we should probably move on to wing, but I just want to point out Ryan Strome has 0 points in 13 games. Okay.
Sad.
That is all. So to the wing position, we have Ovechkin at 7.7 at the top of the list. I think he might be the top play here. Obviously, he had 24 minutes against Dallas. Still trying to figure that out. Do you know why that may have happened? 24 minutes. Did they go OT?
They did go to OT, and I believe they had. I mean, the thing is, if they take like a few penalties and Ovi's just feeling it, he'll stay out there for the entire power play.
That he did.
Yeah, so I mean, he does that from time to time, but I mean, they truly were double shifting him, like him and Kuznetsov. So I already said
line had no minutes. Dowd 8, Smith Pelly 8, Stephenson 7. So yeah. He was just living out there on the ice, and they lost in overtime.
That makes sense.
I like him tomorrow. Edmonton's defense is oof. Oh boy. So
they've been fine. Like Edmonton has overall. Like they're actually coming in extremely hot. Let's see, they've won. Yeah, they've won like 5 of their last 6 games. So they're playing pretty well, but. I'm not really sure how much I care about that because I'm not really looking at goalies on either side of this game. Oops, I talked about goalies. But like I said, McDavid and Ovi is a very easy play to make. Like, for especially if you're playing like double ups or whatever, like just seems like you're locking in 2 of the best point per dollar plays at the higher tier without really giving up a whole lot just because they're not that much more expensive than the alternatives. So Ovechkin is always going to shoot the puck, always going to be great. If you're looking, maybe the fade Ovechkin in tournaments, is there like a high-priced winger here or like a stack that correlates with one of these guys that you're looking at, DJ?
I mean, I don't think there's anything like super specific. Like I like the Taylor Hall Hischier stack you mentioned. I'd probably just those 2. I can't believe Taylor Hall only has 2 goals.
Yeah,
that's not Taylor Hall. Other than that, I think I don't know. I kind of feel like I like some of these mid-range guys. I might spend up at center because I think spending up at center is really like going to be the way to win the GPP tomorrow. Because I think that the top centers are going to be dominant. I might spend down a little bit at wings to match with them. I mean, Nugent Hopkins isn't like a huge savings, but I'm kind of considering him with McDavid. I'm kind of considering maybe Crosby Simone tomorrow. So that's kind of how I'm going to start my lineups. I don't know if I like try to go Ovechkin in there too. And I think there's a savings on defense that we're going to mention. Actually, wow. Wait, is he still a savings? Kinda. Yeah. That'll help get you there.
Yeah. So I guess to more answer my more direct question, I think that Kessel Malkin will go pretty underowned relative to their upside here. I can't promise you that. I'm not sure where the winds will blow in terms of ownership, but I am looking at that as like my just a really solid tournament play. But yeah, I think for me, I'm definitely playing Ovechkin and then moving to the maybe Nugent Hopkins, and if not him, probably to the sub 6K range. So anyone above that stand out to you, or should we just kind of dive into some of these mid-tier plays?
I mean, they're all kind of just stackable guys. None of them like stand out as like a must play in cash type of guy to me. No.
Yeah. So a name that probably stands out for being this low on the list is Jamie Benn. Just 7K 4 games ago, he has gone all the way down to 5,800 on DraftKings. So Jamie Benn, he's been separated from Sagan. So I'm actually kind of intrigued by that in this specific setting, just because of the fact that I expect the Bergeron line to really focus on stopping Sagan. That's just what would seem to make sense because Sagan truly is their most dynamic, most lethal player. But Ben Spezza Nichushkin does have some offensive chops, and I think that they'll be able to take advantage of like the secondary players for Boston. The non-Bergeron lines simply aren't that great. McAvoy's still out for the Bruins, so I just think there's a lot of upside to Jamie Benn here. And given his price, he is going to see taken exposure on the power play. He might even, double shift with him from time to time if they're trailing. Like I just think this shapes up as like a real good buy low spot for Jamie Benn.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I mean, he's way more expensive on FanDuel. It's kind of peaked over. On FanDuel, he is just 100 less than Marchand. He's just above Taylor Hall, Paul Giroux. So, yeah, not exactly the same. Yeah, he's much cheaper over on DraftKings. So, yeah, a little price discrepancy there. I don't mind that play, but I'd like it a lot more on DraftKings. Other than that, anyone this range, I mean, Horgvist could end up being a play, which is pretty gross because the way he started the year was just real bad. He kind of, actually his game log in general is just odd. Like he has nothing to start the year, and then he had 2 games in a row where he just absolutely fires. His price goes back up to 6K. He just falls up the face of the earth again. So I definitely like him a lot with Crosby. What are your thoughts on a guy like Drouin? Or maybe even Caggiula, because that was the other guy I was thinking of that I totally forgot. Do you think either of these guys are must plays or well, not Drouin, but like is Caggiula kind of like if you play McDavid, probably want to jam him in?
So the only thing that makes Caggiula like a non-must play is the fact that he's not on that first power play. I don't really think that quite matters much here. To against the Capitals, like it's going to be a pretty up tempo environment regardless. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of what's your risk tolerance when it comes to like chasing upside versus because Caggiula has a floor of absolutely zero. Just because if he does one stupid thing early in the game, or they have a really bad shift and they go, hey, who's up next? Alex Chason. Like, sure, why not throw him out there with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, or God forbid, Draisaitl goes with them. Like it's certainly not safe. There's a chance that Tyraddy can be activated, or he has been activated from IR. He was a healthy scratch on Sunday night, so even the guy like Tyraddy could join the lineup again, and that adds some inherent risk. Saying, "Hey, Caggiula had a bad shift. Tyraddy, go out there with him, and if he scores, bye bye Caggiula because he's not producing without McDavid outside of very rare circumstances." So for me, I kind of tend to stay away from those situations outside of like the big $8 tournament, the big, whatever, 27. Like I'm not playing him in cash games personally just because I can't stomach that. And I think that there are guys who like have better track records and, I'll work my lineup in to fit those guys. But yeah, you said Caggiula and then you mentioned Drouin. I like Drouin just because I love Charles Hudon. I'm sure you love Charles Hudon as well. And he's been playing on the Drouin line for the last 2 games and has gotten a bit of a price hike, but still a pretty good value given the power play time. However, that could change just because Montreal did lose to Tampa. And yeah, they love to punish young guys for losses by demoting them to the 4th line. So don't be surprised if that happens.
Hudon, my boy. Also, another interesting note from Montreal is that their first power play was Armia, Domi, Drouin, Gallagher, Petrie. I guess I just didn't expect to see Joel Armia on the first power play. I'm not sure if that's happened a lot this year or not.
Yeah,
he's pretty cheap.
He's been pretty consistently, at least mixing into the top unit. So, yeah, 4,300 for Armia. It's not the worst. Not the worst play you can make.
Not the worst, not the best. All right. And then we mentioned Simone. I think he's
Yep.
I wouldn't say a lock on FanDuel, but he's really cheap on FanDuel comparatively. So if you're playing on FanDuel and you need a punt, they think a 4-4 is kind of like not like a punt, but you get what I mean. Other than that, who was playing on with Sagan? Was it
Who was playing
yeah,
with Sagan?
Shore and Janmark. Yeah, neither of them on the power play. That was
Yeah.
that line. It was Sagan, Shore, Janmark. Guess we'll see what happens there. But those guys are down in this range. I don't know if I love that stack by any means, but just kind of mentioning it, just that's kind of what they had going there.
Yeah,
You
I
mentioned
love me.
Nichushkin.
I love me's like on ice impacts of Matthias Janmark, but in terms of daily fantasy, not really, unless you are stacking Sagan. In which case, if you end up playing Sagan and GPPs, throw a Janmark in there, see what happens. But what were you gonna say? Cut you off.
No, I'm pretty much out actually. I don't think I see anyone else that I'm like.
All right, yeah, I think
very
you
into.
mentioned Nichushkin. Like that's fine. I don't see his minutes being extremely high, but Spets and Ben play together on the power play, and they're both pretty cheap. Nichushkin as well is pretty cheap, getting second power play time, but the minutes aren't necessarily safe there. So, all right, pure punts, Oscar Lindblom, 3.4 now. Yeah, 3.4. He now has 5 points in his last 3 games. He's been playing with Nolan Patrick and Jake Voracek. Just seems like a pretty good candidate to keep this going, in my opinion. I think we were really touting him when he came over from the SHL at the end of last season, based on his extremely strong shot numbers over there. That hasn't necessarily translated to the American game at this point, with only 21 shots in 14 games on the year. But he's pretty talented. He is playing good role for this Flyers team, and he's only 3.4. So if you're playing Patrick and need a cheap guy, Lindblom makes sense there too.
It's a good option. Okay, let's move over to defense. At the top of the list, we kind of have all the guys you'd think to stack with all the top stacks. Letang, Karlsson, Klingberg, and Klefbom. Those are kind of the main, like the Crosbys, the Malkins for one, the Ovechkins. If you go with Sagan or if you went with McDavid, so it's kind of like all encompassing them. So is there one guy that you like kind of outside of the stack in like a cash game setting, and is there one stack that you think to include a defenseman on for sure if you play it?
Yeah, I mean, I think here I kind of lean toward Klefbom actually. 5.7. I don't know. I'm not really. I'm not sure how to feel about John Carlson, just because he does feel he's cheaper than he has been all season at 6.2. So, damn, Sabres just got scored on empty netter to ice it.
Great, good, great, Graham, wonderful.
Who wants happiness, anyways? All right, so yeah, I mean, Klefbom with McDavid, just playing a pile of minutes. So, really like that. The goal, like the first goal of the season will come. He now has 42 shots on goal without a goal. I just like to look at those dumb things, because when it does change, his fantasy points will obviously skyrocket. That'll be a huge spike game. So you might be able to say he's due. Chris Letang, probably if you're playing Pittsburgh, is like the top point per dollar defenseman. But I mean, obviously, all these guys have merit to like stacks or whatever. But I think Klefbom's my favorite at this point in time.
All right, that's very fair. I'm totally down with that. I think all these guys are fine plays, but yeah, I think pricing wise, like that makes sense. Checking FanDuel, the order is Klingberg's the top, Karlsson, Letang, and Klefbom's still pretty cheaply priced. Sandwiched in between Ekman Larson and Provorov. So I think it's a really nice play over on FanDuel. Trying to include a little bit of FanDuel talk. I normally just forget to do it. It's just general laziness to click like one new tab and type in the button and then like look. Like it's amazing how like it sounds like the worst thing in the world. But I'm like, I gotta check FanDuel. It's really easy. So I'm gonna try to do it. Comment or rate the podcast or something. Be like, keep talking about FanDuel, and I'll do it. Okay. So now getting into more of the mid tier. Guess is there anyone in this 5K range that you're super interested in, or is it kind of you got to move kind of down into the 4K range? I mean, Torrey Krug's pretty cheap. Is what was 2 games back?
Yeah, Torrey Krug is, I think, my guy here. With that first power play role, the minutes are pretty solid for him, playing 23 last game against Nashville. So it seems like he's back at full strength, and he's a great DFS sort of defenseman. So I'm all about him in just about any format. I think he's actually like the top defenseman, not looking or while looking at price, just because I think he deserves to be up in this, 5.4, 5.5 range, and you're getting a few hundred savings with him. So, um,
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I really think he's a smart play tomorrow. I don't even think you need to stack him, but I do like Pasternak and stuff
yeah,
like that.
I
What
would
about?
I would find a
Yeah,
way to Ekman Larson or Gossesbear before I play anyone else in this 4K. Like 4 to 5K is pretty much a dead zone for me outside of Krug personally.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Do you think the Islanders are ever going to put Pulock on the first power play, or do you think they just hate us?
I think they just hate us.
Hot
I
Mayfield 4-3.
like
Yikes.
the great thing about Pulak is though that he's been playing a ton of minutes. Like they do really like him, which is nice because he's an awesome player. But he does, he does have like one of the best slap shots I've seen in a while for a defenseman. So
Works
um,
that pretty well.
it is
All right, so
disappointing.
I think our next guy, looking over, he has the exact same price on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings. I think actually maybe it might be 100 off. No, he's 100 more on DraftKings. That
Miro,
is
Miro, Miro.
Miro Heiskanen. I think he's pretty much a lock. First power play. He had what? How many minutes last game? Like a million.
27.
27 minutes last game. First power play with Sagan, Ben, Klingberg, and Spezza. I mean, his shot metrics aren't fantastic. They're not bad. I think he's very safe at the price, and I think he has a huge upside. So, yeah, he's probably my lock. I think that he's really going to help you put together that lineup that I was talking about earlier. Like, I really want to spend up at center. I think it's. I mean, you don't have to. I think that you could win a GPP if you take Galchenyuk and he has a hat trick for no good reason. But I think in cash he's pretty much a lock, and then that helps you spend up at center, get guys like McDavid, maybe Crosby, and you'll feel good about it.
Yeah. I guess the interesting thing that they're doing with Heiskanen is that looking at it, you would kind of expect him to be almost a direct replacement for Radulov. Um, so really, my only hesitation is that any team that rolls with this like dumb three forwards, two defensemen, they seem to want to stick these defensemen like at each point, almost like it's 5-on-5, and that's pretty terrible for any power play. I mean, you look at the numbers. Dello at the Athletic does a great job of like showing the numbers over time, and they're simply just really bad. And the way they ran him out last game was on the left point, so he's not really in a position for one timers and all that. Um, so that's really my only hesitation. Like you said, his minutes are fantastic. He's so involved offensively, really motors up the ice any chance he can. I think he's a great play still. But if they showed like him in a Radulov role where he's over on that right half wall, like I would be racing to the bank to get out more money to put on this slate to play Miro Heiskanen just because he's so much fun. But did want to complain about that for when he busts tomorrow, so that I can say, hey, I called it because they're doing a really dumb thing with their dumb power play.
Okay, Matt, I'm glad that you already hedged your bet. That's fantastic. That's the Morning Hedge podcast. I mean, that's really what we're hoping
Oh,
for
come
to
on,
get out of
BJ.
it.
The Morning Skate Hedgecast.
You're right. What was I thinking? I'm an idiot. So I just decided to kind of put together a little lineup, just a little mock lineup here, like something that you could potentially do. I went with McDavid, Crosby, Simone, Lindbaum, Ben, Heiskanen. So I have a full Crosby, Simone, Hornqvist stack. Let's just say you go with that whole line stack. McDavid kind of solo, Krug solo with Ben, Heiskanen, and I put Carey Price in that. And the reason I did that is because of one stat that you found before the podcast. Do you remember that stat about the Islanders?
Their PDO being extremely high.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very high at 5-on-5. I think that maybe it's worthwhile to look at Carey Price at 7.5. I don't talk about any of this goalie stuff much. I think on the road though, honestly I don't think Montreal is that bad. I know at the beginning of the year I was kind of low on them, but they might actually just be okay. And I still think Carey Price could steal you a game. And I think a lot of people will be off of him because there's that opponent rank 1 for the Islanders, which I think we can all agree is kind of complete bullshit. So let's build us a couple stacks that we like, and to our guaranteed goals. Unless there's anyone else you want to mention.
No, I think I'm pretty good. I don't really see myself diving into defense like super cheap. So um, yeah, obviously, as any of this changes, we will be discussing it in the group me. If you are interested, it's just a chat platform to just talk to members of the Morning Skate community. I think we have how many people now? 88. We got Eric
Pretty good,
Lindros.
I think. We have
Yeah,
Eric Lindros, yeah.
yeah, Eric Lindros number of people. So
Be McDavid. There's only one way. That's by waiting a little bit, then joining. Okay.
um, so yeah, it's a great tool just for getting updates and all that. So stay tuned to that and our Twitter account at Morningscape Pod. If we get any of this like crucial slate changing information. But yeah, let's pick some line stacks. You have one in mind, DJ?
I think I'm just gonna go with I really like the McDavid, Klefbom, Nugent Hopkins stack. Like, I respect Washington, but I don't know. I just think it's just such a good stack that it just doesn't matter. And, like, Washington's good, but they give up a lot of goals. Especially if Copley's in that, like, ooh, could be big. Like,
Yeah,
that might not be. I have no idea. I just know Holtby played the last game, so who knows?
yeah. All right, I will go with Malkin, Kessel, and Letang. Um, Interestingly, in 30 minutes on the power play this season, Malkin and Kessel combined for over 50% of the Penguin shots on the power play. So Malkin's at 24%, Kessel at 30%, and then Letang at 10%, Crosby Hornqvist 17%. So you can see Malkin and Kessel are the two highest, shot generators on that power play. And I think that's a fun little mini stack, and then add Letang in there for some, extra upside. So I really like that on Monday slate.
Yeah, I think a really cheap stack that I'm interested in is going with Patrick and Lindbaum. 5-on-5 exposure. Patrick gets you that first power play, so they don't really correlate on the power play. Actually, Lindbaum didn't play any power play time at all, but he actually had a ton of 5-on-5 time just overall. So who knows if he gets on power play or not? But that's a really, really cheap stack, those two. And I think you can still play Gostisbehere with them because Gostisbehere is just really good, and there's a good chance he'd be on the ice for at least Patrick on the power play. So really cheap stack against Arizona that I like.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Definitely really good salary saver. My last stack will be the Dallas stack I alluded to. Let's call it Ben, Spezza, and Heiskanen. A really cheap way to get exposure to Dallas. That's it's certainly not going to be the most popular way to attack the slate, but I think it's a nice little fun stack just given their prices and given Jamie Benn's talent. So yeah, let's call that our my cheap stack of the slate. All right, guarantee goals.
Guarantee goals. This is where we pick a player that we guarantee that will goal. Any questions, comments, you can ask me. But yeah, that's essentially what we're doing here. So I'm gonna go. Oh, I don't want to do that. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Dominic Simone 4-6. He's gonna be my cheaper guy. I just think he's really kind of maybe underappreciated DFS asset. I think he could blossom into a very solid goal scorer in the future. And I think maybe we can start seeing that now. He's got 8 points in 12 games. His minutes have finally gone up. And him playing with Crosby, I think they might make him more of a trigger guy. I'm not like, me and Matt talked about this off the podcast. We both feel like the reason Sherry was so expendable is because they really thought that Simone might actually be an answer to playing with Crosby, and that Sherry was kind of can go because Dominic Simone is just a better player. And I think that might be true. So I think we're going to start to see that more. I like him a lot. Hopefully that vamping gave you time to pick your guy.
Yeah, no, I was just I don't know if I've ever discussed. I thought Daniel Sprong would be the guy to go with Crosby. I think Simone's kind of I definitely don't disagree with you that like his value right now is like pretty high, especially given the fact that when they were struggling last game, it was Gensel getting moved off that first line of Crosby
Yeah.
instead of Simone. So certainly that's a nice little vote of confidence that we see in Simone. But yeah, just
maybe you're right. Maybe you did say it was Sprong. I don't know. I'll misquote you if I want to.
Sprong's been pretty not great, but he's been in the NHL, which is better than we could say of all of last year. So he could see an upgrade if he's in the top 6. Oh boy, I am so ready to jam that one in at 2.9. All right, I'm going to go with Jake Vrana at 4.9 as my guarantee goal. He's playing alongside Ovechkin and Kuznetsov. I think it's time. He's had a couple good games. He's not done anything special, but I think that at home against Edmonton is a great spot for him to kind of re-find his scoring touch. Maybe pot a goal, pick up an assist on an OV blast, and have yourself a nice little stack there.
Yeah, I kind of gave myself a terrible price range. 6'4" is just not really that good. So I'm just gonna go with Jamie Benn at 5'8". Leaves me 600 on the table to upgrade my goaltender. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jamie Benn for mainly the main reason as he's just actually pretty good. Should get some decent run against some maybe worse Boston guys. So I like that.
I mean, I don't know if you need to ask me because I'm locking in on the other side of this game. Oscar Klefbom gets the first goal of the season. He's at 12 shots over his last 3 games. He's had 4 games with more than 5 shots in his last 10. Like, really fun game logs to sort through. Again, he's playing with McDavid. Like, McDavid's feeding him on the power play. That power play's been hot. He's going to keep it going. I think he finds the back of the net here. So Oscar Klefbom, 5.7, my other guaranteed goal.
All right. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. T-shirts are still being made, right? That's all well and good. We're moving forward on that.
Yep. No real news on that. The shirts, you said, right? Kind of cut out.
Yeah.
No, like it's just kind of like it was November 4th. Yeah, Just Edition is gonna announce their winter line on the 19th. So I'm guessing like that's probably when it'll go live to purchase them. But I'll contact them. I'm gonna be in Buffalo. We're planning on getting together on like the 13th, 14th, or 15th, one of those days. So I'm hoping that they're there by then. They might release ours a little bit early if it's there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good info. The 17th. Keep that in mind. Maybe a little Black Friday purchase in order.
I mean, that's the thing I was thinking about is like well, when would you want to wear the Morning Skate podcast shirt? And I'm thinking really anytime. It could wear it to weddings. You could wear it first dates. I think first dates.
Job interviews.
Job interviews. I think the first date idea is probably your best bet because the girl's going to be like, oh my God, this guy's a winner.
Honestly, don't bring flowers. Just bring a second shirt.
Yeah. You just go and you just like, oh my God. And like the thing is that like you're definitely getting laid. And I know it's November, so be careful with that. Oh man, that's gonna be funny for some people, and other people are gonna be like, "What in the world are you talking about?" Okay, so without getting into detail, there, buy all the shirts. There'll be 50 of them. If they sell out like very fast, we will definitely do more things with Just Edition, and we'll make more stuff that you can buy and impress everyone. And stocking stuffers, or really, actually, probably the featured gift of the Christmas tree is normally what I'm thinking about with these shirts.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's a conversation starter. That's a cool logo, and it really turns me on. What is it? It's probably what you're going to hear a lot of.
I can see November's gotten DJ's mind in some pretty twisted places already. So let's close the show there before.
No, I want to keep going. I really want to keep going with this.
We can take this offline, DJ. All right.
All right. Well, I like
be sure to follow us on Twitter at MorningSkatePod. You can follow me at Fake Moods, and you can follow DJ for his various November-based shenanigans at DJ_Mitchell94. And with that said, yeah, that's all we have to say. So best of luck on this Monday slate from Doug, from DJ, and from myself. Have a good slate, everybody. and we will see ya. All right.
Gotta have the No Nut November